Christ, Bill.
Some days it just isn't good.
Well, I gotta read that damn thing.
With you then. Here, hold it. Hold it with you.
Anyway, what's gonna
Here,
happen?
don't hold it quite.
You'll see all the holes through here. And what I want to do is I've got 12 questions for Dave, and he's going to answer them. And I would like an applause whether you believe his answer or not.
Oh, good.
And if you don't believe it, then
Excuse me, could you
applaud
get
even
the stool
harder.
so he can stand up? Let him stand on the stool. Dave needs to stand on that stool.
Yeah, I'll put him on the stool.
You look a lot better. Very, very important question. You're moving, Dave, so you don't hit your head in the door.
Yeah, I need tight though, right?
And then we're going to give him a score, and then the court here is going to
Applaud louder. Yeah.
applaud louder. Okay.
Hey, Dave.
I always tell the truth.
David Gerlach. Oh, wait a minute. I remembered a little joke here. And, I mean mongrel. There was a talk show, the only talk show you ever went to. And the talk show was to ask this Texan and an Englishman and a farmer from Alberta about to finish the sentence and then spell the word. And the Texan was the first, and they said, Old MacDonald had it. And the Texan said, ranch, R-A-N-C-H. Wrong. And then the second one was to the Englishman, and it said, Old MacDonald had a, and he said, castle, C-A-S-T-L-E. Wrong. And then they asked Davy Gerlach, and Old MacDonald had a, and he said, farm, E-I-E-I-O. Anyway,
Here's your pen. Right here.
red pen.
That's good.
When you and Courtney were selling magpie and crow's feet to Bill Bauer, 5 cents a piece, why did you guys hang on to the owl? You got a baby owl, and you walked around in circles, and you thought the owl would screw its head off. You let loose, and the owl bit Courtney in the back. Why did that happen? What is your answer?
Jesus, that's tough. You're trying to make an easy one.
Okay, everybody that believes Davy, clap.
What about Courtney?
You don't believe Davy? Clap.
Well, we don't believe you anyway.
Was Lee Gerlach playing the piano when you did that?
No.
Who believes that?
Yeah.
Okay. Why were you scared of the dark?
I still am.
Did you ever use the phrase that the dark was so dark the flashlight wouldn't work?
No.
Okay. Who believes that?
Oh, I don't.
Who doesn't believe it?
Hold it, he hasn't yet.
many hours did you ever spend playing pool?
Oh, God.
Don't forget, a 40-hour week is 2,000 hours per year.
About 5,000.
How much money did you make?
I bought my Poppin' chocolate bars.
You agree with that, Fritz?
Sure.
What did you say, Buck?
Okay, well, who agrees with his answer? When did you throw the dart that stuck in your sister Marlene's head? What year was that?
1949.
Did Fritz Klofke and your dad look for you in the bush because you were scared to come out of the bush? Does everybody agree with that? Did you ever get a licking from your dad for riding with the bread truck? Riding on the bread truck.
He never gave me a licking.
But you used to throw rocks at your back of your head and you put your hands back.
Just to practice
Your
baseball
dad-
game.
Does everybody agree with that answer? Well, we got about 3 more here.
Thank you.
Carl Barrett used to run the school bus.
Carl Bear?
Yeah. And how come you had to sit on the steps in the school bus on the side and not get to sit with the rest of the kids?
Because I was doing nothing wrong and Carl Bear would stop the bus and come back and grab me by the ear and pull me up.
Does everybody agree with that answer?
What was he doing wrong? It was all Franklin's fault.
Clifford got everybody.
Yeah. Old Flossie.
That was it.
One day you were in Stettler and you left the bar and you came back about 3 minutes later and you had a 16-pound goose. Where'd you shoot the goose?
That was Buxton and I. We got it from a dugout just by your
And
place.
why did you spend... Why did you spend all next day shooting the white geese with a 22 to kill the ones you didn't get with the shotgun?
On a Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Was that good?
I wasn't. There was 4 of us. There was Dad and Buxton and
This is really getting terrible. And I've got 2 more here.
nobody believed me.
When you were in the police force in Calgary, which we had some debate over whether it was 10 years or 8 years or so on, how could you work in the police force knowing that in Stettler you used to shove one comic book inside of another? Did you ever do that? And then the final one I've got is you and Courtney Gerlach made a Molotov cocktail. And when it went, and Courtney isn't here, but his dad is, and the reason his dad doesn't have much hair is because Courtney's got all burned off too. What's your answer to that one?
He didn't know the fuse was that short.
questions here, and you had a chance to score 110 out of 11. And 110 is really bad. And you've scored 103. And we, the jury here, the prosecution, sentenced you to another 50 years of the same shit. Oh, don't you say it.
What's she doing?
Wait, am I only talking to you now?
She
Not about that.
Oh,
All right, now we're gonna take this. We're gonna take this guy and we're speaking to her. Any questions like that, for goodness sake, Dave, can you imagine what he could have asked you? I tell you what, I had to take that list. He had 10 questions, and I said, for God's sake, be nicer than that. I mean, this is a nice, they were supposed to be nice. What can I say?
The only thing holding you guys back is I know more about all of you than you know.
I'll just admit it, is that you're gonna get your chance. I mean, you're gonna get your chance to speak last, except for your wife. Introducing the next guy, for God's sake, is probably really tough. He's from Calgary. He's part of the family. And being part of the family, Glenn, I know that you had to suffer with probably only one part of that family, and that was your brother-in-law. And I know that tonight you're about ready to get even. But you know, when you come from Calgary, Glenn just happens to be one hell of a fine Calgary Flame fan. And after the Flames went out to the Los Angeles Kings in 4 straight, or whatever it was, Glenn made an appointment with Cliff Fletcher at the Flames office. And he went down and he said, Cliff, can you get me an appointment with God? Cliff said, well, sure. He said, you know, I'm number 1 guy in Calgary. I can get you an appointment with anybody. So Cliff made the arrangements for Glenn to meet God. So he got down there and he got up there and with God, and he said, God, he said, there's 3 questions I want to ask you. He said, God, will Calgary ever win the league championship again? And God thought for a while, and he said, not in your lifetime. So God accepted that. He said, God, will Joe Newendike beat Wayne Gretzky for the scoring race? God looked at him and said, not in your lifetime. Well, I said, God, this is the big question. He said, God, will the Calgary Flames ever win the Stanley Cup again? God sat back and waited for a while, and he says, not in my lifetime. Just before I introduce him, do you know how you spell dynasty in Calgary? O-N-E. Please welcome Glenn, brother-in-law of Dave Gerlach.
I'll just stand here and talk about the old brother-in-law. Anyways, when Bill said I had to make a little speech tonight, I thought, well, I'm going to be lucky, and he's going to ask me just to talk about the good points. And it'd only take me 3 or 4 minutes. I could think of 1 or 2. But as it turned out, I'm supposed to talk about Dave's bad points. Well, I only had 2 weeks to get ready, and anyways, here we go. When I first met Dave, I met his older sister first, and found out what a Looney Tune she turned out to be. So that was just a warm-up. What this guy turned out to be. Anyways, when I first met Dave, he thought I was a city slicker, and I think he still does. He'd kid me because I didn't know all about ranching and farming and things. I didn't know a ewe from a rooster. But at least I knew that a roughneck wasn't a goddamn skin disorder. But Dave is I found out very quickly, he's also a mourner, a real complainer. For a guy that grew up on the farm, I thought he would understand what oilmen liked to do when they went hunting. So when Dave was 15, I stopped by on the farm, took him to Coronation to do some hunting with a friend of mine. Well, he walks out of the house to get in the car. Jesus, he's got a shovel, he's got decoys, he's got all 2 guns, all no booze. So we get to Coronation, and we check in the motel. And it's about 8 o'clock at night, I think, Dave. And anyways, Dave gets his shovel out and he says, let's go out and dig the pits. Dig pits? Jesus, and cut into our beer drinking? Hell? Anyways, next morning at dusk, Dave's up already. Let's go shoot. Let's go shoot. I says, Dave, settle down. Take the bed, push up to the window in the motel, and open the window. And that's how oilmen shoot. And the geese come in and load, because his job is to open the beer and load guns for us. Cried like a baby. You know, coming from the farm, Dave was mesmerized by anything scientific. Anyways, he won a movie camera. Many years ago, curling. Well, you should have seen the first complete film he took, and this is true, was this rotten old dead pheasants. Pheasants. He done a whole, for 7 minutes. So I says, Dave, for Christ's sake, you gotta have some motion, something in your film. So anyways, the next film was 7 minutes of him shoveling grain into an auger. But then he did get a little better. He was going to make a movie. And he was going to be the director, the producer, the writer, and the actor. And remember he had Rex, that old black dog? Anyways, Rex was going to be the co-actor. And anyways, Dave was going to be Elvis Presley as a gunfighter. and the name of the movie was I Shot Old Chef in My Blue Suede Shoes. It was just a stinker. It was terrible. So, I always remember that. Also, Dave has no clue. I went to, Marlene and I went to Hawaii with Dave and Mary Jo. And we'd get these great big waves and they'd tumble you around. And Dave would, come up in the water and he says, Jesus, my bathing suit's plumb full of sand. He says, I can't stand it, it's all crammed up in my private parts. And I says, Jesus, Dave, just, flush it out a little bit. So my back was turned to him, and everybody's starting to laugh. And I turned around and I says, Dave, with your suit on. And he's so goddamn vain. This is also the same trip. And Mary Jo and I and Dave, I think Marlene was sitting on the shore, but this is a true story. We went in these huge waves, and it just tumbles around. Remember Mary Jo, the huge waves? We were going around, and we all sort of came to and on the shore, and all of a sudden, everybody that's sitting on the shore is clapping and cheering, and Dave thought it was for him. Dave, was like Mary Jo and I were trying to find the top of the bikini. was a scientist, and I think Fred mentioned this. Him and Courtney had trying to invent an atomic bomb. And it sort of backfired, but anyways, I guess the only thing that it really got out of it is an effective way of removing chickens' heads and helping constipated birds. But anyways, I just want to leave this by, it's Dave's 50th birthday, and reminded me of something that Mary Jo told me. Mary Jo had gone to the doctor the other day for her annual checkup. And anyways, Mary Jo comes home all bubbly, says to Dave, you know what? The doctor said I had the waist and legs of a 20-year-old. And the doctor says, or Dave says, what did he say about your 50-year-old ass? Mary Jo says, your name never came out. Anyway, I just want to say, happy birthday to you, Dave. Hope you have another 50, and thank you, Mary Jo, for thank you.
My God, that guy's from Calgary. They do still have some talent in Calgary. Special card that we sent to Davey. Reads on the outside, at your age, we're all asking. And on the inside it says, should we neuter him or just put him to sleep? Happy birthday, Peck and Helen Gervais. One other message that I had to pass on to you tonight, Dave, from Fred's story and the group that you went on to curl with. They were sorry they couldn't be with you on this weekend because of other commitments, and they asked me to pass my personal regards on to you at this particular time. It's a long time ago that you curled with them, but they wanted you to know that they still remembered the wonderful times when you won that World's Curling Championship. That was from Fred's story and the Ron. What's his name?
Never mind.
Remember curling. I think the group just did one hell of a job. What about a good hand for the My God, look who just came in the room. My most favorite person.
That's only one side to go, the other don't bleed the same.
Here comes the pony. Actually speaking, Pony, when you just arrived, I was going to tell this story now. I got to tell it now because Pony had just arrived. I think it was back in about 1969. We went to the Northern Alberta Curling Association, Bonspiel. And Pony was playing with Davey and myself and Tom Coates in the spiel. And we got down to, we were playing somewhere around in the fours of some event. And I'll never forget this, Pony. It was one of the most outstanding things I've ever seen. At any rate, we were sitting in the lobby, waiting to go on to curl. And of course, Davey's a very big man, and I'm tall. I used to be a lot slimmer, but I'm tall. And anyway, we're sitting there, and there's these four great big giants, about the size of this guy sitting over there, and they all looked about the same. And they're saying, well, we'll just take these hay shakers out there, and we'll get rid of them in about 5 or 6 cents, and it'll be all over. Well, of course, us hay shakers from Stemler, we weren't really prepared to accept that. So we go out on the ice, and we're playing. And these guys are sliding over the hog line, and they're having a hell of a time, and they're really enjoying it, but we're up 6-2. And they're laying 1. And I was curling reasonably well. Davey said I never made a shot in the game, but we're still at 6-2. So at any rate, Davey says, watch this. There comes my friend. Out of the hack, just like a great big gazoo. Down the ice, over the first hog line, over the second hog line. About 3 feet from the front of the house, he lets the rock go, passes the rock through the house, and the guy says, I think he slid over the hog line. I said, I think he probably did, so I put the rock back on. Now, unbeknown to me and Davy, for some unknown reason, these four great big giants became our personal friends. And every time Davy made a shot, they said, what a wonderful shot that was. Every time I made a shot, which was once or twice Davy said in the game, they'd say, that was a good shot. So we're driving back to the hotel after about the seventh end in the game. We'd wiped these guys out. Davy said, Bill, what the hell happened to those guys? He said, they were so arrogant, they were so ignorant for the first 6 ends. Tony's sitting in the back seat of my Volkswagen. He says, I sure fixed them guys. He said, they come down, they said, you guys got the most arrogant skip and third I've ever played against in our life. And he says, I just said to him, well, you guys are sports people, aren't you? He said, don't you know, they used to call me Willie. He said, don't you know who Willie Tainch is? He said, he just happens to be the light heavyweight champion in Canada. He's only going to take so much of this shit, and he's going to beat the shit out of all of you. Thank God for Tony. So, Tony, I'll never forget it. Dave, I brought your retirement certificate. And it reads this. My nookie days are over. My pilot light is out. What used to be my sex appeal is now my water spout. Time was when, of its own accord, for my trousers it would spring. But now I have a full-time job to find the blasted thing. It used to be embarrassing the way it would behave. For every single morning, it would stand up and watch me shave. But as old approaches, it sure gives me the blues to see it hang its withered head and watch me tie my shoe. Pony, would you like to say a few words?
No. You're the only goddamn guy who can make more noise than me. Stay with it.
Actually, I got to tell you this story. Most of you would probably know the name of your curling people. I was 50. I got roasted, and Don Fleming was one of the speakers. And Pony, you'll appreciate this, because I curled a lot with Don Anderson and Dr. Bill Mitchell. And he said one of the things that really happened, he said, throughout the curling career of Bill Tainch, he said, you'll note that Bill's a pretty good speaker. But he said, what happened to Don Anderson and Bill Mitchell? He said, Bill would never let them speak. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to just run through a few of the highlights, and I'll get serious for a moment. It's pretty tough to get serious about this guy. Dave was born on July the 2nd, 1940. Fred's his father, who was with us this evening, a gentleman that I got to know for many years, and your fine wife, Ida, mother, who passed away about 2.5 years ago. Dave has two sisters, Bev Heath, a lady I got to know extremely well throughout my ball days, a fine lady and her husband, and today I've met the two children that have come up and grown to be great representatives of that family. Marlene Johnson, and of course you just heard from Glenn, and I just seen some of the grandchildren today, so I know, Fred, that your family has gone on to be very successful. Went to school, of course, at kindergarten. Some people say that he was here from grade 1 to grade 8. It took him 16 years to get through. That's why he was fairly old when he went to Botha. He went to grades there from 9 till 12. He graduated in 1958. Bullshit. Two longest years of his life were grade 1. His curling career. Oh, started curling in the Botha Curling Club with Bruce Ball. Bruce's wife, and I know they're not here today, Maureen Ball, was his first teacher right here in this particular school.